Good evening. Now, here's the number for you to call to be a part of the discussion. Call 34. My show is the new Underground Railroad Express. Next stop, your neighborhood. All aboard to freedom and to freedom land. All right, let's get started. We're going to get started with some amazing the month of May, and it's May the 19th, 1744. You see, Princess Sophie Charlotte was born on this date in 1744. She was the first black queen of England. Oh my goodness. Charlotte was the eighth child of the Prince of Miro, Germany, Charles school number 8, opening in 1873, is celebrated on this date. This was a school for blacks and was operated by a Board of Education for Colored Schools, located in Ellerslie, near St. Louis, Missouri. It was a one-story wooden building of 2 rooms and opened with an enrollment of 53 pupils. Very important words.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals to help your business grow? Admin, accounts, marketing, and more, but only pay for the exact amount of support you need at virtually the same cost you'd pay for one full-time employee. With Virtual Professions, you can. One contact, one number gets you a team of virtual professionals for exactly what your business needs. It's 1-888-315-VPRO. That's 1-888-315-8776. Or online at www.virtualprofessions.net. Virtual Professions Incorporated, because you mean business.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Ready, we're back at marks the birth of Frederick McKinley Jones, an African-American inventor, in 1893. Jones was born in 19th, 1900 celebrates the first publication of the Colored American magazine, CAM. This was one of the first monthly magazines created for the national African American consumer. You see, this date marks the birth of Malcolm X. In 1925, he was an African American activist leader who articulated concepts
listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com, and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals to help your business grow? Admin, accounts, marketing, and more, but only pay for the exact amount of support you need at virtually the same cost you'd pay for one full-time employee. With Virtual Professions, you can. One contact, one number gets you a team of virtual professionals for exactly what your business needs. It's 1-888-315-VPRO. That's 1-888-315-8776. Or online at www.virtualprofessions.net. Virtual Professions Incorporated, because you mean business. You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back. In 1929, you see Eloise Greenfield, an African American writer, was born on this date in 1929. She was born in Carmel, North Carolina, the daughter of Weston M. W. Little and Leslie Night on Neighborhood Street, 1996. Water, Water, 1999. MJ and Me, 1999. And Grandma's Joy, 1999, and others. Greenfield has stated that her family and her efforts to fight racism are the two most important concerns in her life. In a very real way, she has adopted all black children as her family by addressing racism through writing books, especially for them. Greenfield is possibly the foremost African American children's poet today, and I bet you have some of her books in your own personal collection. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I remember seeing some of those books she wrote. That's right. What a writer. There you have it. Eloise Greenfield. Okay, more history, history, history. The date. It's Monday. It's May the 17th. The year is 1937. You see, Hazel O'Leary was born on this date in 1937. She's an African American politician and administrator. Hazel Rollins O'Leary was born in Newport News, Virginia. She graduated from the former segregated Huntington High School of Newport News. O'Leary received her bachelor's degree in history and government from Fisk University in 1959 and her law degree from Rutgers University in 1966. O'Leary worked as a prosecutor in the state of New Jersey and was later a partner in the accounting firm of Coopers and Lybrand during the Jimmy Carter administration. O'Leary was assistant administrator of the Federal Energy Administration, general counsel of the Community Services Administration, and administrator of the Economic Regulatory Administration at the newly created Department of Energy. In 1981, O'Leary established with her husband the consulting firm of O'Leary and Associates, serving as vice president and general counsel. From 1989 to 1993, she worked as an executive vice president of the Northern States Power Company. Also, O'Leary was nominated to be Secretary of Energy in 1993 by President Bill Clinton. During this time, she was often accused of traveling too frequently and spending lavishly on her accommodations. She apologized to congressional committees in 1996 for spending which exceeded limits on the funds appropriated for travel and resigned in January 1997. It was later revealed that Chinagate scandal figure Johnny Chung claimed that O'Leary met with Chinese oil officials after Chung had donated $25,000 to O'Leary's favorite charity, Africare. Currently, O'Leary serves as president of Fisk University in Nashville. Her honors and affiliations have included Board of Directors, United Auto UAL Corporation, the parent company of United Airlines, Alchemex Corporation, Scottish Re Limited, AES Corp., and World Wildlife Fund. Board of Trustees and co-chair the Campaign for a New Century, Morehouse College, Phi Beta Kappa. O'Leary is widowed. She has one son, Carl Rollins, 43, an attorney in Washington, D.C. Okay, more history, history, history. The date. It's May the 17th. The year, 1954. Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka was ruled on this date in 1994. Do you know the significance of that? Desegregating America's public school system. This was a landmark court case in which the Supreme Court of the United States unanimously declared that it was unconstitutional to create separate schools for children based on race. The Brown ruling ranks as one of the most important Supreme Court decisions of the 20th century. At the time of the decision, 17 southern states and the District of Columbia required that all public schools be racially segregated. A few northern and western states, including Kansas, left the issue of segregation up to individual school districts. While most schools in Kansas were integrated in 1954, those in Topeka were not. Brown versus Board of Education developed from several court cases involving school segregation. One of these cases, based in Clarendon County, South Carolina, illustrated the unfairness of segregation. In the 1949-1950 school year, the average annual expenditure for white students in Clarendon County totaled $179. But for blacks, it was only $43. The county's 6,531 black students attended school in 61 buildings valued at $194,575. Many of the black schools lacked indoor plumbing or heating. The 2,375 white students in the county attended school in 12 buildings worth $600,850. These buildings had far superior facilities. Teachers in the black schools received, on average, salaries that were one-third less than teachers in the white schools. In addition, the county provided free school buses for whites but failed to provide them for blacks. These circumstances led blacks to Clarendon County to sue to create equal schools. In the case, Briggs versus Elliott, 1950, the United States District Court in South Carolina ordered equal funding of black schools but refused to mandate racial integration of the schools. The Supreme Court heard arguments in the Brown case in 1952, but the justices did not decide the case that year. Political divisions on the court ran deep, and the weak leadership of Chief Justice Frederick Moore Vinson made a decisive ruling unlikely. The court scheduled re-argument in the case for 1953, but Vinson died before arguments began. His replacement, former California Governor Earl Warren, was a skilled politician who brought renewed authority to the court. Moreover, Warren believed that segregation was fundamentally wrong. He successfully persuaded all of the other 8 justices to support a single opinion to end segregation. Warren himself wrote the statement of the court's decision, a document known as the opinion of the court. Warren's opinion explained the context of the law in regards to the case and detailed the reasons why the court reached its judgment. It was the first major judicial opinion since joining the court that year. In April 1955, the court heard 13 hours of arguments over 4 days on how to end segregation in the public schools, and ultimately, in what is popularly known as Brown II, 1955, the Supreme Court turned the implementation of desegregation over to the federal district courts in the South. District courts were ordered to desegregate schools with all deliberate speed, an ambiguous phrase that allowed many Southern judges to avoid desegregation for years. Linda Brown, from the original case, did not attend an integrated school until 1955, when she had reached junior high school. None of the children of the 20 plaintiffs in the Clarendon County case ever attended integrated schools. Nevertheless, Brown helped launch the modern civil rights movement and led to other court decisions that struck down all forms of legalized racial discrimination. And the lead counsel, Thurgood Marshall. That's history, people. Thurgood Marshall, later Supreme Court Justice. All right, we keep moving right ahead. I can get one more in. The date, it's May. It's Saturday. It's May the 17th, 1980. You see, on this date in 1980, the Miami riot occurred. This was the first major American race riot since the civil rights movement of the 60s. The incident raised American awareness of the sometimes explosive nature of the neglected urban life. Violence erupted in Dade County, Florida, that summer night when people of Liberty City, a predominantly African-American neighborhood, learned of the verdict in a case of white-on-black police brutality. The acquittal of the 5 white police officers who had been accused of beating a black motorist to death sparked the violence. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? I gotta take a break. When we come back, I'll finish the rest of this story. Oh my goodness, history is so important. That's why we have to keep it moving forward, and that's why we connect the dots right here on the BCS Experience. We'll be right back, right after these very important words.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head. What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals to help your business grow? Admin, accounts, marketing, and more, but only pay for the exact amount of support you need at virtually the same cost you'd pay for one full-time employee. With Virtual Professions, you can. One contact, one number gets you a team of virtual professionals for exactly what your business needs. It's 1-888-315-VPRO. That's 1-888-315-8776. Or online at www.virtualprofessions.net. Virtual Professions Incorporated, because you mean business.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, service, talent, or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 212-696-8562 or visit www.goproradio.com, and you'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your very own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're all right already. We're back on the BCS Experience. Hey, listen, I'm talking history. You want to talk to me and talk about some of this history? Call me, 347-884-9839. Okay, we left off about the Miami riot that occurred on May the 17th, 1980. Now listen to this, because this sounds familiar to the same kinds of uprisings that have happened in Baltimore and Ferguson of this year. But this is what sparked the 1980 riots. Furious, blacks threw bricks, rocks, and bottles at white suburban motorists who had to drive through Liberty City to reach a main Miami highway. Adding to the anger, an apparently peaceful protest sponsored by the NAACP failed to produce a speaker. Soon, the discouraged crowd joined in the violence, attacking the Dade County Department of Public Safety headquarters and local white-owned businesses. Miami police and the National Guard restored order with roadblocks and guns. By the time the rioting ceased, the following morning, 855 people had been arrested and $80 million worth of property damage. In the skirmishes between blacks and white motorists, 8 white people and 10 African Americans had died. The catalyst for this event occurred actually in December 1979, when police officers had pursued an African American motorcyclist, Arthur McDuffie, in a high-speed chase. And although the officers claimed that the chase ended when McDuffie crashed his motorcycle and died, the coroner's report concluded otherwise. One of the pursuing officers cleared up the story, testifying that 5 of his fellow policemen had beaten McDuffie with their flashlights. According to his testimony, the officers murdered McDuffie after he had forcefully resisted arrest. An all-white jury acquitted the officers after brief deliberation. For the Miami police, the McDuffie case was one incident in a history of unpunished malfeasance and neglected conditions. The 1980 riot dispelled the illusion that the racially motivated uprisings of the 60s were a thing of the past. And then we had Watts, and then we had Rodney King, and then we had Michael Brown in Ferguson, and then we had the incident in Baltimore with Mr. Rice being brutalized. I'm telling you folks, this is not an anomaly. This is an ongoing story that we need to reflect on what history is showing us, and that's why we have to have a respect for the past so that we do not make the same mistakes in the future or the present. All right, here's one for you. Oh my goodness, when I saw this, I was stunned. May 11th, 2015. Do you know what happened on that day? Well, here it is. The United States has put out a countrywide contest to put a woman on the $20 bill, replacing that racist Andrew Jackson. See, here's what we need to get to really understand. The founding fathers and the early presidents, they were all slave owners. Why, of course, George Washington had over 300 slaves. And do you know that he actually built an underground passageway in his home in Philadelphia so that the slaves that he had, over 300, would not be seen by visitors coming to his home. So they had to walk underground to go up to serve his guests and those who came to visit him in his Philadelphia home. Well, Andrew Jackson owned slaves as well. So that $20 bill that you've got is a slave owner's bill. Now, just recently this year, a contest was held. And who do you think won the contest to be the replacement on the $20 bill? None other than Harriet Tubman, who freed the slaves. Freedom dollars, folks. And it was really an interesting story because last week when they decided the story to be played on television as a news item, it wasn't from a black person that gave the story. It was a little white girl in a predominantly white class that was proud to announce that the selection was Harriet Tubman. That's right. In America, freedom dollars. I think this is revolutionary. And one way we can really find out how much the dollar turns over in our community, like in Black Wall Street, holding on to those freedom dollars. And guess what? It doesn't have to pass Congress. The President of the United States, along with the Secretary of Treasury, are the only two individuals who have to give an okay for this to happen. Stand by. Freedom dollars with Harriet Tubman, who freed the slaves. Oh my goodness. All right. I got to finish up with my final thoughts. BCS Experience blog news snaps, okay? This is about Baltimore and about race riots and about all these uprisings, because they're not riots, they're uprisings. Sadly, America will continue to wake up to worse case scenarios than the explosion of these current urban upheavals. Why? The answers are actually plain and simple and can be traced historically from the 1700s to 2015. Are these riots? No. What happened in Kentucky after their basketball team lost in the recent NCAA Final Four tournament? Now that was a riot, people. There was no justification for the behavior exhibited by those young white people. They were drunk, high on drugs, and completely out of control. Time to call a spade a spade. Baltimore, Ferguson, Cleveland, New York City, justifiable disgust from a system of oppression that continues unabated? Yes. The destruction in those community businesses were not those of black-owned properties. Fact-checking is needed here. Check it out. And as ugly as it really is, there is a significant difference and should not be compared to what happened in Kentucky as a riot. What happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921 when the white racists destroyed the entire African American community was a riot. Unjustifiable and has never been judicially resolved. That wound is still open, people. And that was not the only African American community destroyed by white racism. We Americans conveniently forget the history of this nation that was formed in insurrection against an oppressor, Great Britain, who exacted the same kinds of forced oppression on people who were tired of being victimized by a system that basically wanted to enslave them. The major difference in America today is the ongoing racial profiling and enslavement and shakedown of African Americans and their communities since the 1700s. So now again, after an uprising of raw emotions explodes, you're paying attention. Finally, again, it's all about race, people. It seems historically that the only time America pays attention to the plight of the totally depressed African American and our communities is when there is an upheaval and explosion of a pot of anger that has been simmering for far too long without any attempts to address the problems with realistic agendas and solutions. Unfortunately, it's going to get worse as the summer and warmer months approach. Why? Because the same conditions that existed back during the 1700s are the same conditions now, and unfortunately will continue. No jobs for youth or adults. Way too high unemployment figures in the African American community are still above 15% when the nation is saying it's 5.4%. Police brutality without justice is not just a Baltimore problem. Pick a city anywhere in America, and you have the recipe for this type of community unrest. Now the plot thickens. When you take into consideration the unchecked and proliferation of gun sales and gun ownership that have exploded in the white America, and add to that the use of deadly force by police and the access to weapons of mass destruction stockpiled in police departments all across America that are now being used to quell these urban upheavals, now you have a recipe for a disaster of monumental proportions just waiting to happen. America's race war. This is where I must remind America of its history of completely destroying African American communities who were defenseless against white rioting. Wake up, America. You have a serious problem. It's called racism. It's not a black problem, really. It's really a white problem, period. Well, folks, that's the BCS experience for today. Gotta go. It's been all about the experience. Stay tuned to GoPro Radio Network as we've got some great shows on the horizon. By the way, I'm Byron C. Saunders. It's been all about the BCS experience. Join me next Wednesday when my very special guest will be Reverend Dr. D.L.C. Boyce, and let's talk you. Anyway, this has been all about the rich history and learn how it impacts on our lives today. Until then, hey, I'm out of here for the moment. Peace and love.